Hey, with 4 Ys, because yeah, I'm cool like that. Anyway, HDW, AFAIK, IKR, IDK, LOL, GTG, TTYL, ILY, followed by a message with 2 asterisks. For those of you who don't speak text, my messages to my BFF, that's best friend forever, were, he did what? As far as I know, rolling on the floor laughing. I know, right? I don't know. Laugh out loud, gotta go, talk to you later, I love you, and 2 kisses, because 2 kisses will definitely communicate that I really do care about her. I love talking to my friends. The cute little smileys, the WUWYs, what's up with you for all of you who are not down with the texting lingo. The OMGs and the BRBs. Oh my gosh! Be right back. Yes, talking is such a wonderful thing. Well, hang on. Talking? Of course! If you consider talking to be sitting in your bedroom alone, your face 4 inches from a tiny screen, thumbs grazing over a keyboard. Isn't it amazing how we have evolved from the archaic form of face-to-face communication to the much more efficient and high-tech screen-to-screen communication? It's lovely. Except it actually isn't. Have you noticed now that when you go out in public, texting seems to be replacing actual conversation? Or how when you're out with your friends and a lull in the conversation occurs, you and your companion's first instinct is to reach for your phone. The problem is that the skill of social interaction is going by the wayside, and our use of technology as means of communication is largely to blame. According to a study done by the Pew Research Center, as of 2015, 78% of people have admitted to being guilty of hiding behind their phones when in social situations, specifically because they do not know how to behave in that type of setting. More than 3/4 of the world's phone-holding population are simply casting their verbal communication skills to the side. Before we drown in acronyms, let's message each other about why we are losing verbal communication skills. Then we'll text about the consequences of losing these skills, and finally we'll talk, face to face, about what we can do to alter it. Communication is an extremely important part of the way that we live our lives. One needs to know how to convey their wishes, their thoughts, and their emotions. But due to the rise of technology, we are losing important aspects of verbal communication. We ignore our abilities to talk to one another by actually speaking. It has become a way of the past, and while communications have seemed to advance through the use of technology, we are actually losing important aspects of our knowledge. Now, don't get me wrong. Technology is incredible. It brings us new information at startling speeds. But due to the convenience of screens, instead of driving out to Starbucks to meet up with your friend, we sit in our rooms, the computer running Netflix, tablet operating Candy Crush, phone in our hands, texting each other strange combinations of letters and numbers that are supposed to mean words. Lack of using words can lead us to what I like to call the acronym habit. And if we're being perfectly honest with one another, I've used words like IDK in actual conversations. Wait, what? IDK is not a word. It's a shortened version of 3 words. And when used like this, it becomes a phrase. And with this phrase comes the loss of those 3 little words and their meanings. IDK no longer means, I don't know. It simply means IDK. 3 words have become 3 letters, leading us to lose some of our vocabulary. This language, the language of odd combinations of capital letters, is used primarily in texting. Speaking of texting, Words are a gloriously wonderful adaptation of symphonic clatter, employed primarily for the techniques of conveying contemplations. The average high school student knows about 45,000 different words, according to linguist Paul Pyack. I bet that you didn't even know that you had that many words stored away for use. The problem is, words like IDK don't count towards that number. Texting causes people to use fewer words in an attempt to be faster, but this can lead to less word knowledge overall when speaking in formal situations, such as job interviews. Now, I don't know about you, but I definitely wouldn't want to use IDK during an important interview. Another issue that we have with screen-to-screen communication is that it lowers our ability to recognize emotions, thereby inhibiting our ability to empathize. In an experiment conducted by the UCLA Department of Psychology, several phone-dependent children were split into two groups. The first, sent to a camp where there was a strict no-phone policy. The second, sent to a camp where phones were allowed. Upon arrival, the children were shown 50 different pictures of people displaying different emotions. On average, they incorrectly identified 14.6 feelings. After about 5 days of being at these camps, the children without their phones averaged far fewer mistakes than the children with their phones, who still missed around 15 expressions. This demonstrates the idea that technology negatively affects our abilities to interact with and understand one another. It prevents us from developing the skills that we need to learn non-verbal cues. Likewise, texted words possess no emotion, no inflection. They are left open for the reader to interpret. This can lead one to wrongly interpret a text, causing misunderstandings and wounded feelings. Screen-to-screen communication isn't looking so good now, is it? Teenagers, no shocker there, are especially at risk for failing to develop the necessary skills that they need to hold verbal conversations. Developmental psychologist Sherry Turkle, who studies the effects of phone usage on interpersonal development in teens, says that teaching an individual to interact with another person teaches a person to reason, to think, and to self-reflect. That particular skill is a bedrock of development. The longer we spend locked in our rooms staring at LCD displays, the more we become at risk for failing to develop the necessary skills that we need to hold verbal conversations, effectively making us, as English professor Mark Bowerland says, the worst communicators to date. Now that we have texted one another about the causes and consequences of losing verbal communication skills, it's time to talk face to face about what we can do to regain these skills and how we can move towards changing the way we interact with one another in the future. How can we fix this problem that plagues our population? Have dinner without your cell phone. Leave it in your pocket when you're out with your friends. Have one day a week where all of your technology is powered off. The British Psychological Society estimates that around 81% of people have interrupted precious time with friends and family to communicate with others with technology. Efforts need to be made to hold verbal conversations. Our success will be known by no longer seeing any more of the awkward, I don't really know what to do or what to say, so I'm gonna stare at my phone. Together we can employ our vast knowledge of 45,000 different words in social situations, forge deeper, lasting relations with our friends and colleagues, and more fully understand the world around us. The verbal use of, I don't know, instead of the screen use of IDK, will be meaningful rather than pixelated. Endeavoring to orally communicate will lead us to the better development of listening and interpretation skills, turning us from some of the worst communicators into some of the best. After all, talking to one another on a screen is simply a form of hiding. And when you are hiding alone. Thank you.